Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Winning with Jed. I'm just thrilled today because we have a great guest, Laura Berman Fortgang, author and speaker, coach extraordinaire. I'm just really excited to have you here today, so welcome, Laura.
Thank you, Jed.
Hey, so for all of our listeners here, you didn't even just author one book, you authored five books. But we're going to focus on one of those. And I think it was Take Yourself to the Top.
Yep, take yourself to the top. I mean, it's my oldest book, but it really is like the core of what I do with people. And defining what the top is the first step. What does the top mean to you? Is it a sales number? Is it what you want your life to look like? It doesn't have to be what the world has said the top is, being the CEO or whatever the case may be. It's whatever you want to define it as.
Yeah, and I like that because I think everybody's got a different take on what getting to the top may be, and no judgment on that because, success looks very different for a lot of people. Um, can you tell all of our viewers who you are, where you came from, like just a little bit about you?
Sure. I mean, I'm a long-standing career and business coach. I've been in business for over 30 years. I know I don't look, I hope, but
No, not at all. You don't look a day.
I was just a little baby when I started, and I'm one of the founding members and founding board members of the International Coaching Federation, which is the largest body that exists to give some credentialing and making sure that the profession is on the up and up. And that led me to write five books and represent what coaching is around the world. I've gotten to travel to many corners of the globe, not all of them, but many. Have a TEDx talk with over 2 million views, which was on my career advancement material. And I've been fortunate enough to really run the gamut. I mean, I've worked with homemakers for the Oprah show, and I've worked with celebrities, and I've worked with CFOs for, one Fortune 100 companies. So I really have a range of visiting a lot of different pockets of life, and it's been really fun.
That's good. You get to see the highs, you get to see the lows, you get to see all the different angles. Tell us, what was your TEDx talk about? What was the topic?
The topic they named it for me is called "How to Find Your Dream Job Without Ever Looking at Your Resume." And because 25 years of my 30 some odd years in business, I've helped people get ahead in their career, a lot of times reinventing completely. And I came up with my own methodology called the Now What methodology for career clarity, where I don't look at your resume. I don't even show it to me, because it's just a chronological business case for why you can do exactly the same thing for a little more money. I mean, that's basically what a resume is. So when people are really reinventing, I ask them for their life story. And so my TEDx talk was about how to reinvent without looking at your resume as for clues. Where else to look for clues?
Hmm. I mean, it sounds interesting. Obviously, people found it interesting because they did over 2 million views. So that's really, really good. Tell us, let's dig into that a little deeper though.
Sure.
People reinventing themselves, right? I mean, it seems like how often do people reinvent themselves? Because it seems like it happens quite frequently. And I would say frequently. I don't know. What's the
Yeah,
average?
I mean, I think the statistics are that people are going to change careers at least 3 to 5 times in a lifetime, and I think that's only accelerating because industries disappear, AI is changing things, people have to pivot. And so, back in our parents' day, it was like you had one good job and you stayed with the company for life, and that's not how it works anymore. It's not just job hopping, it's career hopping at this point. So reinventing is hopefully each time you're getting truer and truer to yourself,
Hmm.
doing more of what you really want to do, not just using jobs as stepping stones towards the next thing, but getting truer to yourself in it, and figuring out really what your, not just your strengths, but what are you on the planet to do, and can
Well,
you
I
make
think
money at it?
I think people there's that saying which is, do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life, right? But I mean, is that really practical? I mean,
No,
to think
sometimes
that.
sometimes it can only be a hobby. Sometimes that thing you love is just not going to be monetizable. But I do work with people. I do believe that no one should suffer to make a living. Like, I do believe that there's room to actually like what you do. But the key to understand is that it's not the job itself that makes you happy, it's who your job allows you to be. Do you like who you get to be every day, right? If you do, that's disingenuous to you, you're like going to look in the mirror and be like, who are you? Like, this is not anything that has to do with me. So that alignment, being who you really are and being able to do so at your job, that's, I think, what most people desire.
So if we're talking about alignment, so let's say that I'm somebody and I really don't enjoy my job. I look in the mirror every day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't recognize you, Jed. Who are you? What would be the first step to trying to figure out like, okay, what should I do about this?
Yeah, I mean, by the time people get to that point, they are so stuck in the muck and the mire, they don't even know what they want. So the first step I ask people to take, believe it or not, is to write down everything that they can't stand about their life right now. Both the work and regular. And
Sounds really fun.
yes, right. So first look at everything you can't stand, because on the other side of everything you can't stand is something you want. So if you're like, I hate my boss, then what do you want? You want someone who respects you. I can't stand my commute. So what do you want? I want a commute that's no more than 20 minutes from my house, right? So I force people to write down everything they're complaining about and then shift it to look at, okay, well, that means you want all these other things. And when you start reading the list about stuff that you want, you literally start shifting your energy. You just start like being like, oh, I do know what I want. I felt so stuck. I didn't see any way out. I do know what I want. Now, how do I get that? So that's the first step.
Somebody used to say too, where your mind goes, energy flows, right? Like, all of a sudden, if I say red car, you start noticing all of the red
That's
cars,
right.
and the idea that okay, here's I'm gonna be negative. I'm gonna mark down all of the things that I hate about my current, vocation,
Situation, right.
situation, whatever. But I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna use that as an example of to tell me what I do want. And once I've identified what I do want, I'm gonna start looking for opportunities to get that. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And it's not, hey, I've seen some people make some big changes just by reading the positive list every day. But there's 11 more steps to the program, you know. But that's the first one. And it really does shift people's energy and realize like, oh, I've been putting all my attention on everything I can't stand. No wonder I feel so miserable. All right, here's are the things that I want. I don't have them yet, but at least I can name it now. Right. So that's your path out.
Do you think, in my book, Shut Up and Win that I wrote, I talk about that life weaves a string, right? And the idea is that you can't have, a horrible relationship at home and it not affect the other things that you have going on with your vocation and all of these different things. What do you tell people? Let's say it's not their job. What do you tell people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a shrink, so I watch where I
Yeah.
tread, but at the same time, I'll send people to a therapist if they need it. Um, and yeah, sometimes it's the outside things outside of work that are causing you to question everything, and those need to be dealt with too. Do you need new rules in your house? Do you need new boundaries? Do you need to renegotiate your relationship? Is it the actual place that you live that's driving you crazy? So there are definitely other factors outside of work that affect how you feel about work, no doubt.
Yeah, but I mean, but at the same time too, we spend the majority of our time at work, right? So the thing is like, we need to be in alignment, or it's ideal to be in alignment with what we're doing at work. And I guess, for the people that feel stuck, there's at least a first step for you. What do you see as the biggest challenge most people have when they're stuck like that? They're like, hey, I don't really enjoy what I'm doing, but I can't afford to do something else, or I don't have the energy or the talent, or what do you see as the biggest hurdle most people deal with?
Well, I mean, those are all excuses, those can be overcome. But also for some people, it's an identity thing. Let's say you've invested a lot of time and money in your Harvard law degree and you hate being a lawyer, but it's like everybody's looking at you like, you've put all this time, effort, money. there's prestige, there's how your family looks at you, and you're thinking of giving that all up. I mean, look, when people say you're crazy, I always think you're usually on the right track. You
Mm.
know, if everyone's
So
telling you you're nuts,
if somebody looks at you and goes, "You're absolutely nuts," and then you go, "Oh, okay,
you're on
great,
the right
doing the
track.
right thing."
That's right. That's right. Because other people won't have the courage to do it. That's why they say you're nuts. Yeah,
Do you,
so when so back to what I was saying is that it's an identity crisis. Like I can't see myself doing anything else because I invested so much time in this. So that's one of the big obstacles sometimes. And sometimes the identity might be like, I worked with somebody who didn't go to school and they just felt like, oh well, there's no opportunities for me because I'm dumb, I didn't go to school, and that identity was useless to them. It's like, how about you're smart and you figure it out, and yeah, you just happen to don't have a degree in it.
you're only
And
dumb if you let yourself be dumb.
exactly. So she went on to find a career that satisfied her. It happened to be in the school system, but then she got the degree afterwards. So it can happen in any order. It's Those are just obstacles that we put in our own way.
I don't know if you've heard this, but I heard this and I thought this was so inspirational because we let so many things get in our way, right? There's like a million excuses like you talked about that you could play out as to why you shouldn't move from your current location or whatever it is that you're doing. You can always find a way to make an excuse for that. But I heard this thing which was, what if Michael Jordan woke up and had amnesia? And you go into McDonald's and you see Michael Jordan and he's got a little manager name tag on and you go, "Oh my God, Michael Jordan, can I take a picture with you?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And you're like, "Hey, do you think like are you going to go play back in the NBA? Like what's going on?" An earlier version of him. And he's like, "You know what? I'm about ready to take over as a regional manager, and I've got like bills to pay, and I've got all the things that I need to do. I don't want to risk going and playing in the NBA." And I heard that, and I thought, how many people really like are maybe have amnesia and under their ability, and I thought, man, that was really powerful to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, the devil we know it often wins out, even though it's not the best scenario. It's like, well, we know it, we're comfortable in it, it's good enough, whatever the case may be. But when opportunity knocks, you've got to jump and take the
Well,
risk.
I think that's the biggest thing, though. Really, like taking the risk. What do you do? One, two, three, go.
Close your eyes and just go. I mean, I call it the free fall. Like if you were jumping out of a plane, you're totally psyched to do it, but you're terrified at the same time. Like that's that free fall feeling of excitement without the oxygen. You're not breathing. Uh, so that equals fear. But I was an actor first, and my acting teacher used to say, "Fear is just excitement without the oxygen."
Yeah,
Kate,
okay.
Kate
There you
McGregor
go.
Stewart. That's a good one.
Let's ask this. How many people that came to you as a business coach, you obviously you've been around the block, you've talked to all sorts of people at all different levels, went and tried for whatever it was, their goal, and then failed. What percentage do you think?
Maybe 20% fail.
So 80% of the people that actually put themselves out there succeed at what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it's not always neat and tidy and tied up with a pretty bow, but they
It's
make
seldomly neat and tidy and put in a pretty bow, right?
right,
It's
right.
just, you think it's a straight line to get what you're trying to do, but it's really this like windy path that ends up all over the place, right?
Exactly. You might make headway in one direction, not the other direction, or you get an opportunity to start and then, you're like, oh, that wasn't good. Let me do another opportunity. So, yeah, it's not always a straight line, but I think once you know who you are and what you want, it's much easier to make decisions and go through the doors and windows that open for you.
20% of people that went for their goals that you've worked with failed miserably or failed. How many of those people lost everything?
Nobody.
So nobody lost everything. So they weren't hungry on the streets, completely desolate. So I think that the reason why I bring it up is because that's what we put in our minds, right? Like,
Right, that's what's going to happen.
Like that it's like, okay, if I try for this thing that I really want to do, there's a good chance I'm going to fail. And there was a statistic that I read some time ago, and I'll probably mess it up a little bit, but it was like 87% of the things we fear are going to happen to us don't ever happen. And of the things that do happen out of that 87%, like 9% of them are as bad as you think that they were. And I feel bad for those 9% of you out there that had
So do I.
but the 90, the 91% of people that didn't experience the situation, that's really what we should be operating on, which is 90% of the things that you fear are going to happen to you are not going to happen to you or are not going to be as bad as you think they are.
That's right. That's right. So you're gonna survive. You might lose a little hair along the way or get a few extra wrinkles as you worry, but most people land, and worst comes to worst, they go back to what they were doing before, maybe with a new attitude if they're lucky. But no, haven't seen anyone go completely destitute or lose everything.
Well, let's talk about you. Let's dig a little deeper on your personal path. Tell us, like, what's one of the biggest struggles you've had? I mean, you wrote 5 books. You've done serious talks. You've done all these things. You've been doing this for quite some time, only being 30 years old. I mean,
All that before 30,
I know, it's
amazing.
crazy. But what was the biggest struggle you dealt with along your path?
I mean, there's certainly been ups and downs, and even writing my first book was a struggle because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I insisted to write it myself. But really, the biggest hiccup in my story was that I graduated college without a theater degree because my parents wouldn't let me have one, and I went to New York City to pursue theater. And that's not a huge stretch when you live in New Jersey, by the way. It's not like I came from Iowa on the farm and had $5 in my pocket. But at the same time, I waited on tables and did the whole thing and worked my butt off to try to make it. And I was a union member. I worked half the year as an actor, but I was still waiting on tables and it just was getting me down. And I actually fell into like a 3 year serious depression. I mean, my parents wanted to hospitalize me, and I was like, nope, no hospitalization. That's just a label that I thought I would always carry with me. So I found my way out of the hole by myself. And on the other side of it, I remembered an old mentor of mine, and I called him up and he'd become a coach, and I never heard of such a thing. And I was a client first. And then within a couple of years, I started my own presentation skill training company because that made sense as the actor to teach people how to present themselves better. And it was during that I was like, I really want to do what my coach does. And I was one of the first people trained in the world to get as a coach, and then founded the International Coach Federation with 16 other people. So that is really like the defining moment for me of like, I was not gonna let the worst of my thinking, which was that I had no worth and that I was never gonna get what I want, to get the best of me, and turned it around. And then ironically, I ended up having the biggest successes of my life once I started speaking about coaching and going out in the world representing what coaching was. So that was the toughest one.
Well, it's interesting though, because you didn't end up where you thought you were going to end up though. You had to pivot, right?
I had to pivot. I never could have predicted it. And at the same time, I always say to people, nothing you've done is a waste, because everything I did as an actor has served me incredibly well in this career. I mean, I'm very comfortable being on stage and being a speaker, and that comes from my performing years, and the hustle and grind of being an entrepreneur, that I learned that from being an actor. And this is easier than being an actor because you don't get it rejected as often. So it was a great teaching tool. No regrets. But at the time, I thought I had failed miserably. I was never going to succeed at anything. What else was I going to do? I was 10 years out of college with no work experience. And yet the story turned out way better than I ever thought.
So I am curious, what was your favorite production you were a part of, theater wise?
Um, I played Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl.
Okay.
So I played the Barbara Streisand role. That was the most fun.
Okay.
And in
All
fact, that
right.
was my swan song. When I did that one, I was like, that's it, hanging up my hat. That's it. I'm done.
That's great. So you had to pivot. You were going to be this actress. Um, and then you realized, hey, listen, I'm going to go this other way. Did that make you feel like a failure? Was it like part of you died when you let that go, that dream?
Yes, part of me died. I felt like a failure at the time, but I look back on it now and I don't have any regrets about it. I'm not like, oh, if I could still, I don't have any regrets about it. I occasionally do shows for fun, just for fun.
So, is it fair to say that in the moment, even when you're making the right decision, the decision can sting pretty hard?
Yeah, I think so. Because but the quicker you can resolve the past, the better off you're going to be. By the time I had really moved in the direction of doing the next thing, even the presentation skill training little, landing pad that I did, I was not in pain about acting not working out. And I already dealt with all that.
What is probably your biggest, I don't know, I'm going to say win that like maybe you pat yourself on the back with and you go, you know what, I really helped this person get from this point to this point. Not saying who it was, but like, was there a big win in your career that you're like, man, I cannot believe the amount of growth or what this person has achieved?
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of stories, but one that sticks out was a woman who was a recruiter, and she had never made more than 50 grand at the time. And within 18 months, we got her up to 500,000. And then she ended up retiring as a multimillionaire. I didn't work with her the whole time. I saw her to the $500,000 mark. And then she moved on. She didn't have another coach, but she just knew what to do. And I keep in touch with her to this day. She's retired, drives around in her Mercedes. And it was a great story because it was just about how small she was thinking, like, oh, I really can't get those big contracts. And I was like, well, what if you asked? What if you called? What if you tried? What if you did this or that? And she ended up landing big retainer deals instead of just getting paid for the ones or two placements. She started getting retainers to work for companies on an ongoing basis. And that's what shifted her financial landscape.
That's awesome. Well, that kind of ties in with one of my theories. And the theory is all you have to do is ask.
I really concur and agree with that theory. I always talk about the power of the ask. Like you just never know. I mean, I've had some incredible things happen by just asking.
It's crazy because we have in our head a lot of time like what the result's going to be, and a lot of times that's wrong. Like you're surprised because you do the ask, right? And then if you do it sincerely, a lot of the times you get a lot further than you really think you would get just by saying, "Hey, could you do this?" And some people would call it closing, right? Like don't
Yeah,
forget to close,
for
like
our
do
sales
the
listeners,
ask.
yeah.
But like how many times are people like scared to do the ask because they think they're going to get shot down? And then they do the ask and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Your gal, she started doing the ask and, started making over $500,000 a year."
Yeah.
I would just encourage people like do the ask. Like
I have
put
to tell you a
yourself
good
out
story
there.
about this. This is a story about me. But when I wrote the book, I wrote a book called Now What? 90 Days to New Life Direction. That's part of what we've been talking about. And I wanted the trademark to Now What? You can't trademark a title, but I wanted it for my other parts of my business. And when we went to do the research, it turns out that Barnes and Noble already had it. And my lawyer was like, ready to lawyer up and have a corporate spy and whatever. I mean, she had this crazy plan on how we were going to figure out if we could get this trademark. And I was like, why don't why don't we just call? And I didn't even use my lawyer. I
Let's just
called,
ask.
let's just ask. I didn't even use my lawyer. I called Barnes and Noble counsel myself, and found out that they had used to have a part of their store dedicated to, you got a divorce, now what, you need a new job, now what, you had a baby, now what. They had this now what section. And I just made a deal with, I said, look, I just want it for one category, this is what I want it for, it's one book, I'm not going to do anything else. They gave me written permission and the trademark office approved it, and that was that, from one phone call, just because I asked. And I didn't spend thousands of dollars on attorneys to make it happen.
Amazing things happen when you just ask.
Yep.
I think people need to hear that because if there's something in your life that you're like sitting here and you're struggling with it and you don't know what to do, just ask.
Ask.
Ask for
Ask
help. A lot of people won't even ask for help, right? Because they're scared that, it might make them look weak or
someone will judge
needy or
them. Right.
yeah, something. And like, look, if the result, if it's, you're going to do whatever is worth more to you, right? If it's worth the ask, you'll make the ask. If it's worth staying in the pain of not asking, you'll just continue on with what you're doing.
And you've
Uh,
got to look at that. Why is it worth staying in the pain?
And I don't know why. I think some people want to punish themselves, but if you don't want to punish yourself, just ask. Maybe ask yourself. You could just ask yourself too.
That too.
Um, okay. One thing I like to ask people is, do you feel successful? Do you feel like you've reached the epitome of success?
Uh, no, I'm not saying I don't feel successful, but to answer, I don't feel like I've reached the epitome of success, but I do on a daily basis feel successful. I mean, you know, my life, who's in it, the work that I do, the people that are in my life, um, the place where I find myself, like there's so much to be happy about and feel successful about. And yet I still have goals. I've financial goals I want to meet and um numbers of people I want to serve. And so there's still room to grow.
I love that you put it that way, though. People you want to serve, because it's not people serving us, it's us serving people, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, I love the saying too, and I'm just full of sayings today. The best way to get where you want to go is helping everyone else get where they want to go.
Yep.
And I think that that's been true in my life. I don't know if you found that.
Yeah, that advice was given to me, and I definitely have taken that to heart. And when I think about numbers, like 100,000 books sold, 2 million people seeing a TEDx video, it's like, well, that's a lot of lives to touch. Like that's how I look at it. It's like, how do I touch more lives? How do I make this accessible to more people? How do people get more of it? And that's service.
So when if you're going to break down success, you say you feel successful, but what are the things that make you feel successful? Like if somebody's sitting in their living room right now and they're like, I don't know if I feel successful. I feel like there's so much that I need to do, and I haven't reached where I want to end up. Why would they feel successful?
Well, it gets back to the basics. Is your body working right? That's a success.
Can you use both legs?
Yeah. Can you afford food and gas? That's success. Can you meet your basic needs? That's success. Can you help other people meet their basic needs like your kids? That's success. So I think that people can make themselves miserable by not recognizing what's already working and always be like more, 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 more. I have nothing against playing a bigger game and going for things, but at the same time being grateful for where you're at and all you have.
It sounds to me like what you're defining as success is the little wins every day. That's a success to have those little wins. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is you got to count all the wins. Yes, because that only success breeds success. So if you're sitting around feeling like unsuccessful because you haven't made $1 million yet, then it's going to be harder to make the $1 million. If you're walking around going, so many things are working and I'm playing this game to make $1 million, that you're more likely to get there.
I
Just
think, I think people, it really is mindset. And I don't think, my personal opinion is not just like, you know, think and grow rich, just I'm going to sit here, I'm going to do nothing, and I'm just going to be positive, but I'm going to take no action, and I'm going to all of a sudden be rich just because I'm positively thinking about this. I don't,
right.
that's not me. If that's somebody that's listening, then no, I'm not
And
hating
bravo to
on you,
you.
and I think, faith without action is just dead, you know? So, like, believing that you can achieve something and you're not willing to take action, you might as, there's no point. It's dead. That's my thought.
No, I agree. I agree. It's faith plus action equals success.
Yeah, I think that's it. So just do the ask. Okay. I know we're running low on time here, but I'm sure you've got plenty of golden nuggets. You could probably pull from one of your five books or maybe your TED Talk or something. But I want to hear the biggest golden nugget of advice that somebody ever gave you or that you've learned through your journey in life, and what could you share with somebody that on the other end of this will go, wow.
All right. Well, there's so many, but I'm really thinking of the one that was a defining moment, and it might sound a little woo woo, but someone said to me really seriously, "What does your soul say?" And I was like, "Ooh, all right, I got my answer." And that's how why I got married.
I'm not going to ask.
It wasn't my husband. It wasn't my husband, my fiance, or my boyfriend at the time who asked me that. It was a swami. What does your soul say? I was like, I'm marrying this guy. I was trying, I just couldn't decide. My parents were against it. That's why.
Are you still married?
I am same person, 33 years.
I guess it was a good decision.
Good
You listened
decision.
to your soul.
My decision.
So you had that was I could see how that could be really life changing. Like, what does your soul say? Because you're basically like shut out all the outside noise, shut
All
out
the
everything and everybody,
societal pressures.
all the things. What is your soul saying to you? And I don't know that it really sounds woo-woo, maybe for some people, but I think, there's something to listening to yourself. And a lot of things that I've heard, I've watched a few of your interviews and different things like that. I really love there's kind of I kind of love the angle that you take on listening to yourself. And I think that that comes through like, what is it that you really want? Like, there was something you said about excuses, right? And people saying, I don't know what I want to do.
Oh yeah, when people say, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't believe them. I don't believe that you don't know. I believe you're too scared to take action on what you know. And that's why you say you don't know.
And that's just paralyzing people. So
Yep.
they know. So you're like, nope, I'm not taking the I don't
I'm not
know as
buying
the
that.
answer.
I'm not buying that. There's a little bit of truth in there that you do know, and that's what's scaring the heck out of you. And that's why you say you don't know.
I love that because I think most people do know. They're like, I do kind of want to do this, but I'm too scared to do that.
Exactly. Exactly it, Jed.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Um, wow, we've had a great talk here. I really appreciate all these little nuggets that you've given us. Is there anything that you want to leave everyone with? Any kind of thoughts that you want to share? I want to leave you room to be able to say
Well,
anything.
we touched on identity a little bit, and I just really want that to be a portal for people, like a portal to go through of like, what when you think of Alice in Wonderland, she was little and went through the little door, and then she grew 6 feet and she couldn't get back in the little door. Right. So her whole identity had to change now as to her perspective and her aspect ratio on how she takes in the world. So I'm just going to ask your listeners, our listeners today, to like, what door do you need to walk through and then grow so exponentially that it changes your identity? That's the challenge.
It's a pretty big challenge. I would say be courageous too. Like,
Yeah.
step through the door that you've been sitting there and you're thinking like, should I do that? The other day, it kind of just brings up a quick story. I'm in line at Jersey Mike's. I don't know if you guys have Jersey Mike's subs, but
From Jersey, we got Jersey Mike's.
I didn't know. I don't know. But I'm like, it might just be a name, right? But I go to Jersey Mike's and this guy's like, hey, what do you do? And I explained to him and he's like, you know what? I want to do something like that too. And I said, okay, here's my number. Before I got back to my office, this guy this guy calls me on the phone. Hey, it's Tony. His name's Tony. Tony, and I was serious. I really want to do this. And I was like, okay, all right, Tony, listen, I want to help you. Like, here's the next steps. And I gave him the next steps. He's like, I got two kids. I've got one already, and I got a second one on the way. I need to work. I need to be doing these things, but this is my goal. And I'm like, Tony, go for it, buddy. Here's the steps. Go make it happen. Do it for your kids, do it for your family, because the sooner you start now, the sooner you're going to end up where you want to be. And I thought, gosh, what courage can be found anywhere.
And the
It's
power of the ask.
the power of the ask. Ask and you shall receive. All you have to do is ask. So, Laura, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk with us, talk with me, with the listeners. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, they want to, buy one of your books, can you give is there a great way for people to reach out to you?
If you can remember my name, you can find me, Laura Berman Fortgang. Even if you do Laura Berman, you'll find two people, the sex doctor or me. I'm not her, just so you know. So Laura
Just to
Berman,
clarify.
just to clarify, I've been getting mail for her since the 90s, and I had a website before her. So laurabermanfortgang.com. You can find everything you need there. But Amazon's the best place to get the books.
That's awesome. Audible?
That too. Just Google laurabermanfortgang.com, any of those places, Amazon,
This is great.
Audible,
You're
or
gonna
the
be able
or the
they're going to
internet,
be
and
able
you'll
to
find me.
find you. It's going to be great. You'll find some really inspirational pieces. Take a look at her TEDx talk too. I would just encourage you to do that. And I hope that this has been really, really inspirational for all of you that are watching or listening. And again, thank you so much, Laura. And we'll see you guys next time on Winning with Jed.
See the future.